Strong looks different for each of us, and it's time to put focus on our unique journeys that get us there. This space, created weekly, is for athletes to improve their mindset in order to better navigate challenges that come up in sport and in different seasons of life. On this show, we ask the questions that lead to better answers and have the conversations that truly matter. This is the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Hey, you guys. Welcome back to the podcast for another episode. I am thrilled to announce this, you guys. I just got done taking a look at the reports from all of the downloads that occurred last week, and the count is going through the freaking roof. I am just beyond excited that these messages are hitting with you guys and you're sharing them with other people, which means that we're out there impacting and changing lives. That's what this podcast is all about. On another note, what that also means is since there's so many of you listening, that means that there's probably things that are going on in your life. And there's also probably those things that are going on in your life that you're consistently overcoming and not giving yourself credit for. The whole point of me coming on and the first part of the episode being all about the listeners is so that we all can get better at celebrating ourselves and the things that we are choosing to overcome and persist through. So with that being said, when I post to my Instagram stories every single week, I want to see more of you guys getting involved. I'm going to post every single week. What is a moment that you've recently gone through, that you've overcome and you've persisted? And I want you to celebrate your freaking self. So that way I can come on here and celebrate you and shout you out because that's just fun, right? So with that being said, we're going to move into that section of the podcast where I get to shout out a listener. And funny enough, this one is actually coming from in my own home. Mr. Dave has been doing a 21-day challenge with a company called Wild Gym. And what they create is, they create a couple of different products, but what we primarily use through them is rucking products. So we've got a brand new pack from them, a brand new ruck plate. We're thrilled with the product itself, and we'll actually do some highlights on that on our social media here soon once we broke them in a little bit more. But he's essentially doing a challenge, a 21-day challenge through them, where they want you to get integrated with nature. And they also want to put this challenge with the fact that it's freaking freezing outside for you to get outside and work out in the cold. And they have different levels of, what you can do. You could do it in a t-shirt and pair of pants, or you can do it in t-shirt and shorts, or no shirt and shorts, or like whatever that looks like. There's a couple of different tiers. And so Dave has been taking that on for the past week. And if you guys know anything about Dave, he does not like cold. Cold is not his thing. He gets cold super easily. And so this challenge was going to really mentally test him. And every single day he's done it, whether it's been for 5 minutes or an hour, he's gone outside and he's done his thing. And it's been super fun to watch him just transform in a few days. Yesterday I went outside into the garage and he's in there organizing the garage in shorts. And I'm like, brr, dude, like, what the heck? He was just like, I've become so attuned to it now. Like, I came to realize that it's actually not that bad. And as long as my hands and feet are covered up, like, I'm pretty good to go. And I'm learning all these things along the way about what I can handle and about what works for me. And guys, I just think that's such a cool thing to highlight, that so many of us are afraid to take the leap of faith because we don't know what's going to come on the other side. That feeling of unfamiliarity is terrifying. But this is a great example as to why you should take the leap of faith anyways, because the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to learn something about yourself. You have nothing to lose, you guys, and all the things to gain. So I hope that this listener shout out really does inspire you to just go and take the leap of faith, and you're going to find so much confidence and so many other things waiting for you on the other side. Okay? All right, let's move into the topic of this week. So last episode, we talked about going all in and burning the boats to the island. And what are also the things that you need to build up and focus on in order to keep you going as you start to face resistance and whatever goal that you're after right now. This week, I wanted to make it almost like a continuation of the conversation, but with a focus on the things that you are finding that are keeping your feet locked, right? Like, let's say that you're on the island and your feet are getting stuck in quicksand. What are those things that we don't want to bring into this year with us so that we don't find ourselves stuck seeing the same outcomes over and over and over again. That's what we're going to talk about today. So with that, I'm going to share with you 5 things that I'm intentionally choosing to not take with me into 2025. The first thing is this mindset that I have to earn my calories. And I'm saying earn my calories because this is what I'm currently going through mentally, and I'll be vulnerable and share here in just a moment. But another one that might commonly come up for us is that you have to earn your rest time. I am a classic workaholic, especially for my corporate days, working several hours a week, working on the weekends, just wanting to always be the best that I can be, make as much money as I can, just hit the goals, get the promotion, etc. Like I was always that person, and I still am that person. I also, because of my weight loss story and fluctuating through different shapes and sizes and strength levels and abilities over the last couple of years, I also have struggles that still last with me to this day around body image. And that just comes from things not always fitting the way that they used to, especially when I was really, really, really lean when I first lost weight. Like those clothes don't even come close to fitting me anymore. And the number on the scale looks 10 to 15 pounds heavier, right? And when that part of your life was so dark and toxic and just depressing, it's really easily to tie that all up into PTSD of I don't ever want to go back there. So therefore, if my body starts to change in that way, that means that I'm going backwards. And that's terrifying for me. Just the last couple of weeks, I have found that instead of fueling for performance, which is what I need to be focused on in order to uphold the performance I want as an athlete, I find myself struggling to do that. And instead I'm falling into this pit hole of thinking about the calories and the fact that I haven't been training nearly as hard as I was training right before Worlds. And so therefore I don't deserve to have that many calories. Otherwise I'm going to start gaining unnecessary weight. And so I've had to really monitor myself because while I think that that's truly unhealthy and not good for what shape my body is in and what fitness level I'm at, I actually find some truth of it. I do need to be careful, right? I want to make sure above all that I'm feeding my body with really good quality and not making decisions of just eating whatever, either because I'm tired or I just like don't have the energy and effort to think about or put effort into what it is that I want to fuel with. But I really want to put focus on the fact that it's been a struggle for me to get out of that mindset of I didn't earn my calories today, so therefore I need to eat a little bit less, or I can't have carbs with this meal, or I have to really limit my fats, etc. This is what the bigger picture is, you guys, is I find that earning things at times can come with unhealthy tendencies and mindsets. And so if you have found that you are saying, oh, well, I didn't quite earn this yet, or I don't deserve this quite yet, I want you to follow that up with the conversation with yourself on why. Why are you telling yourself that you need to earn it and that you don't deserve it? And there are several different answers that could come after that statement, but you need to go there with yourself and be completely open and honest. Because what you might find is, again, those unhealthy habits and mindsets that are only going to send you into some sort of downward spiral and are just going to keep putting you in this hole of it's not enough, what you're doing is not enough, or just not believing and trusting in yourself, right? So that's why I wanted to really talk about this today and throw this one in there is, especially for a lot of athletes, that line between what our body looks like and what we need to do in order to perform. It's a hard line to navigate. Because I can tell you that I am definitely heavier than I was like a year and a half ago, but not in a bad way. But what I can do now versus what I could do back then is completely two different things. And when I was working with a nutritionist, she told me like, hey, you absolutely cannot fuel for aesthetics and fuel for performance at the same time. It's almost impossible. And so what I need for you all to hear is that if you're an athlete, please make sure that you're eating. Please make sure that you know what it is that you need. And if you don't know what it is that you need and you think that you might be under eating because you're lethargic and you just feel like you just don't have enough energy to get through the day, that you go and ask someone for help. I'm going to actually shout out my teammate, AJ Golikk, one of our listeners actually, and support him. He is really, really solid within dietetics and is specifically focusing on athlete performance, especially for our Underdog Fitness team. But he takes initial consultations for anyone that just wants to have an open conversation with him around nutrition and what's going on and their training schedule and what they should actually be doing. So please, please, please reach out to him, AJ Golikk on Instagram. I could also paste his stuff in the show notes so that way you can reach out and say hello, because he truly is helpful on that. But just please help yourself, you guys, and don't bring those negative tendencies of I have to earn those things in order to get XYZ. Just have a genuine conversation with yourself and be okay with whatever you say to yourself, whatever comes out on the other side, and just take it one step at a time of handling what some of those things are. I don't know what those are for you, but just take it one step at a time with a deep breath, being kind to yourself, knowing that everything's going to be okay and that you can handle this. The next thing that I do not want to bring with me into 2025 is impulsiveness. And when I say impulsiveness, I mean around making judgments, making decisions, how I react, all the things. When someone doesn't get back to you, and this is something that I went through recently, which is why I'm mentioning it. I had someone that didn't get back to me right away. I always tend to go to that headspace that's fairly negative, and I start to assume things about the person or about the situation or even about myself. That, what I come to find, creates unnecessary stress and puts focus on the problem over the solution, which quite honestly is just wasting time. This is what I want to say. Let's say that you are in a situation where someone is giving you some sort of feedback or criticism. They're trying to be helpful and it strikes a chord with you. Maybe your first impulse is to tear up and want to cry. Maybe you get defensive. I know that I have that quite often. I just want to say this, that it's not bad, you guys, that you are sensitive. It is not bad that it makes you feel a certain sort of way, because quite honestly, it means that you care and that whatever is happening is important to you. What we just need to get better at is redirecting some of those emotions to something more productive, like taking a deep breath and therefore seeking a solution to help you move forward. So just impulsiveness is something that I personally want to just not necessarily get rid of, because this isn't going to be like, I'm going to snap my fingers and it's gone. Like, this is going to take time. And more importantly, it's going to take awareness. It's going to take awareness around when it's happening, and then taking that deep breath and giving myself an opportunity to just breathe and to think. And if you're in, like I said, one of those situations that I just mentioned, be honest. Tell the person that you're communicating with, hey, I have some feelings right now, and I am just trying to process them and give you the most productive answer possible, right? I want to make this a productive conversation where we both can walk away with something, where you can give me advice, where I can learn. I want to take your feedback. I'm just trying to process it in my head. So can you give me a second? And I guarantee that that person will be like, absolutely. And if they really feel like maybe they said something incorrectly that could have struck a chord with you in a way that they didn't mean to, that's probably when they'll be like, hey, like, what I mean by this is, those conversations, you guys, are insanely impactful to your life, right? And so again, the first thing is, it's okay if you're sensitive. It means that you care. We just have to do that redirecting, right? And get out of that impulsive, oh, well, I'm just going to start doing this, or I'm going to fly off the handle. Take a second, find that deep breath, think about what's actually going on in the moment, and being able to tell yourself in your head and in your heart, it's okay. I just feel a little uncomfortable and I'm navigating through it. I'm working through it, right? So that's personally something that I'm working on, especially when it comes to being in the car, because my road rage is insane. Like, you'll find me being sunshine anywhere else besides behind the wheel. That's all I'll say. That's my one vice that I'm trying to get rid of right now. But seriously, just that impulsiveness to always go to the negative, to always think that something's going wrong. Like, let's put ourselves in someone else's shoes as well, too, especially if we really struggle with this. Let's put ourselves in someone else's shoes and think, maybe they're busy or maybe they're going through it. I wonder how I can assist them. And then what that does is that puts you into more of a solution-based mindset versus let's continue to focus on the problem itself, which is not taking us anywhere. It's just making us more pissed off and stressed out. Okay. The next thing that I do not want to take into 2025 is ignorance. I have this tendency to believe that ignorance is bliss. And it's caused me to live my life in certain ways that I would say is both good and also not so good. If I don't understand something, or it starts to give me like a headache, make me feel stressed, uncomfortable, I quite honestly, I might just throw in the towel and I probably will say, I'll handle that later, which then turns into never. So now here I am at 30, wishing that I would have taken the time to learn about certain things as it relates to adulting. And I personally just want to rewrite the script on that. It's not embarrassing, like I'm giving myself grace, but here I am at 30, opening up new accounts and figuring out new ways to save and invest because I never took the time to really figure that out. And had I figured that out 5 to 7 years ago, where would I be now, right? It's like hindsight 2020. You want to kick yourself in the freaking butt. So this is where I'm going to challenge you to sit down and think about anything that you are constantly ignoring that keeps coming into your path that you need to address head on. Guys, the universe is really good when it's like, hey, you aren't learning this lesson. I'm going to keep slamming doors in your face. You aren't learning this lesson. I'm going to keep putting this in front of you until you decide to tackle it. It's really, really, really good at that. But it's only there to help you. So if you keep running into these things head on, it's time to just don't let it be the thing. Just don't let it be the thing anymore that's holding you back, that's keeping you stressed out in your subconscious. Take the time, tackle it head on, realize, wow, it actually wasn't that bad. And then you get to move forward and think about, again, what you're going to gain from that and how there's really nothing to lose. All right, last few things here. I want to rid the habit of saying yes to everything. I love to help people. It's one of the reasons why I love my podcast is because I get to make impact. And just in life, it's so easy for me to say yes, especially when I am wanted and valued. Like when I am wanted and valued, I will have this internal struggle to not say yes to anything and everything. With a new work schedule, however, this is something that I've come head up with recently. I now have a brand new open slate. And with that, I also have to be very mindful, very careful to not just say yes to whatever to make money. Because here's the thing. Yes, I'm a personal trainer and yes, I'm taking classes, but I don't just get handed over all these things. I have to put back on my entrepreneur cap that I originally found a couple years ago. And I have to go out there and build a brand new book of clients and get people to really believe in what I can bring to their lives. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of grinding. And so with all that being said, I have to be really careful not to say yes to everything that comes to me just because I need to make money. And in the past, I really struggled with that because it was just like, well, grinding just means you take whatever, you say yes to whatever, so that way you could just get a base going. I now have some experience underneath my belt where I'm like, I actually really value my time and realize that I don't want to trade all of it for money, even though I have certain financial goals right now that I want to achieve. So I've had to get really clear with myself on these are my boundaries and this is what I'm going to stick to, even though I'm going to have to say no to opportunity. Will it be the right decision? Time will tell. But I need to do what's in line with what I say is most important to me and what my gut is telling me. So that way I don't end up a couple months from now in this situation where I'm working all over the place with different hours, and I'm driving across, from Longmont to Windsor, I can't do that to myself. I've been there before, and I value myself and my time and my energy and my efforts way too much to put myself in that situation. So if this sounds similar to something that you are going through in your life, this would be a fantastic freaking time to sit down and take inventory on how you spend your time and if it truly aligns to what you say is the most important. And if you don't know what's most important, take that step back and go there. Ask yourself, what are the moments that you want to create in your lifetime? And what are those moments that you can start creating now? And what are the goals that you need to set in place in order to make those moments happen? And what are the actions that you need to do in order to fulfill those goals, right? Those are really solid questions that are going to lead to really good answers for you. And then you can sit down and think, okay, what out of all of this, what do I need to tackle now? And what's going to allow for me to truly move the meter? And am I spending time in my current schedule doing those needle moving activities? Last thing of something I desperately do not want to bring into 2025 is perfectionism. I've had a whole episode on this in the past. I'm going to be quite honest. I know that it was in 2024 when I did the Taco About It Tuesday series. So for those of you that want to go back and take a look or listen to that episode, scroll back through 2024. I guarantee you'll find it. I don't remember which exact one that it was. But what I do want to do is read a little something from the book that I'm currently reading from Adam Grant called Hidden Potential, The Science of Achieving Greater Things. And he talks a little bit about becoming more of an imperfectionist. It says in here, in the quest for flawless results, research suggests that perfectionists tend to get 3 things wrong. 1, they obsess about details that don't matter. They're so busy finding the right solution to tiny problems that they lack the discipline to find the right problems to solve. They can't see the forest for the trees. 2, they avoid unfamiliar situations and difficult tasks that might lead to failure. That leaves them refining a narrow set of existing skills rather than working to develop new ones. And number 3, they berate themselves for making mistakes, which makes it harder to learn from them. They fail to realize that the purpose of reviewing your mistakes isn't to shame your past self. It's to educate your future self. If that doesn't give you every single reason in the world as to why you should let go of perfectionism in 2025, I don't know what will. At the core of perfectionism is actually this insecurity of never being enough. So we do more and more and more to try and fulfill that. If that resonates with you, it's time to have a conversation with yourself on what core experiences are causing you to believe that you are not enough. I've had this conversation with myself many times, and it's good to go back to it if you struggled with this insecurity in your life that you are never enough. What we need to do over time is go from these perfectionist tendencies that are coming from this feeling of never being enough to therefore becoming hungry to make mistakes and letting our curiosities truly drive us. That's what being an imperfectionist is all about. I want to leave you with this. This is a text that I sent to my girls that I am currently coaching at Pursuit Fitness, and we're doing a 90-day challenge where they remove one vice, they focus on their nutrition, they focus on getting 4 lifting days in, doing personal development, getting a certain amount of steps in. Like, it's truly just an overall well-rounded challenge. And we're doing that together for the next 90 days. And it's a long time to do a challenge. And so I sent them a little bit of love this morning. Perfectionism gets most of us, and that will be a consistent hurdle in the next several days of chasing our goals. It's not about getting everything spot on or right. It's about knowing what to push for and what to tolerate. What's more than enough. Go solve the problems and seek the challenges that matter in this season of life, and let the insecurities of not having it all together fall to the side. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today, and I hope that this episode truly helps. You know the drill. Please rate and review the podcast if you've not done so already, and be sure to share this with people that need to hear this message. And guys, go to my stories. Today, it's Tuesday. Go to my stories and answer that question so that we can celebrate you and you can get better at celebrating yourself for all the things that you are doing in your life and the ways that you're kicking ass. All right, you guys, have a great week, and I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Becoming Your Strong. See you then.